Story of Adidon. He can hit you with that.
I just brought up Exodus and Infrared, not even to like go to that. That's what I'm saying. Is it's like he got other diss records that he could like go to. That's like, ugh,
Nas the
you
Goat
know.
says Life is Good is better than God's Son. And Tana Talks 4 is better than Pusha T's album. Okay.
The what happened to that boy verse?
Mm-hmm. You know what
Pussy.
my verse is, man. I
Yeah.
love the goddamn I won't say
Oh, the
remix, but
goddamn
radio
remix.
version. But
Yeah.
yeah. I guess that is the
Yeah.
remix because they put it on the Neptune's album.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
always looked
so
at it like the remix.
I know we were talking about Hit 'em Up last episode or whatever, right? And shout out to everybody coming in the room. Sorry we had those technical difficulties. We straight now. We got everything in the chat. We got the polls in the chat. We got the yearbook, the digital yearbook in the chat. Should be able to see that, and our cameras and everything are working. So we're not gonna be talking choppy. But anyway, we were talking about Hit 'em Up last week, right? Or not last week,
Correct.
last episode, a couple days ago. Where do you think the story of Adidon is placed when it comes to all-time disc records? And do you hold the story of Adidon high? Because I know you're a Pusha T fan, but I never really hear you talk about that record.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up. Actually, as soon as you said that, I immediately thought to myself, well, I hold back the back higher because of the degree of difficulty and because of who the artist is not as a lyricist and as an MC. I don't. I look at Pusha T lyrically very comparably to the way that I look at Conway and Jada Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
And so him doing the story of Adidon is not surprising to me. Him
Yeah.
doing Infrared is not surprising to me. That's him meeting the expectations of what I think he is capable of doing, not
He's
exceeding.
crushing somebody he should have crushed.
Right. In the case of Drake with Back to Back, oh, I have that ranked higher. Like I have Pusha T's beating Drake, but Pusha T doesn't have a back to back because of who Pusha T is and because of Drake who is not, if that makes sense.
So you got back-to-back ranked higher than the story of Adidon.
Technically, yes.
I
Because
don't
I feel
know.
like the degree of difficulty is higher. Like, who thought Drake was going to do that?
I think that there is a degree of difficulty when you're going against the biggest artists in the game, right?
I'm talking about.
I think that the reaction from the story of Adidon, for me, is what makes me hold it higher and where the degree of difficulty lies. Because we've seen in many situations, right? Let's just say Joe Budden and Drake. Joe Budden torched Drake, but people act like it didn't happen. They act like Joe Budden didn't even come out with 4 records or whatever, right? Or like when you had all those responses to Kendrick's Control verse with like Papoose and people killing it like that, and it's like when an artist is so big, people could play it off and act like it never happened. But the fact that the story of Adidon took on the biggest artist in the game, who was coming out with an album, made him push his album back, made him hide from social media for a full month. I think that's a little bit extra than just putting out a diss record that gets traction. You know what I mean? Because on the flip side, even though Back to Back was a little bit unexpected, he got the support from the machine with that record too.
Granted.
Thumbs up in the
And
chat,
you,
man. I don't know why we losing people. Maybe people's connection is off. I don't know.
and you're making very valid points. I will tell you, first of all, I mean, when I'd say I would have back to back higher, I would probably have both of them in my top 10, but they would both be in the back end of my top 10. Like one would be 8 or 9, and one would be like 8 or 10. You know what I mean? So I don't think either one of them really qualify as the greatest diss record ever. Like No Vaseline's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Ether's better, The Takeover's better. Those are just the Bitch in You is better. Yeah, like those
The
four
degree of
diss records.
difficulty on the bitch in you is high. And we're gonna talk about
the level
Common today.
Okay, so that's probably the highest degree of difficulty we're talking. And as strange as it may seem, part of why I hold Ether so high isn't because it was Nas. It's actually because of who Jay was historically at the time.
And where Nas was at the time. It was unexpected too.
Where Nas was not at the time, I believe is what you need to say.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So all of those things matter.
Oh
And
yeah,
so
the
in the case,
circumstances matter.
yeah, the circumstances matter. And so watching Drake like just body Meek like that, oh no, the surprise of that was higher than what Pusha did, because that's what I'm saying. Well, Pusha had already done Exodus and Infrared. Like he had already been taking shots on mixtapes and saying fly shit. You know what I mean? So it wasn't surprising for him to pull like a major card. It just happened to
But
be a
see,
bigger card.
he was
And if you were
pulling
and if you
cards
want to
like
look at it, hold on. If you want to look at it on a musical record, on a musical level, like for a record, like
mhm.
Pusha has so many better records than the story of Adidon too. Back to Back is one of Drake's best records.
Well, okay, that's a matter of opinion. I'm sure a lot of Drake fans would disagree with that. But what I will say,
Rap. I'm sorry, it's one of his better rap songs, Mike.
the
Where he's,
dig of Pusha finding Drake in blackface and making
yeah,
that
but
the
that's
cover, like that's historic hip hop
no,
diss record stuff. Like
I
people
get
thought
you, but
when that cover came out that he like photoshopped that. Like, no, that's real.
so here's what I would have to submit to you is that's probably why I have it ranked a little lower, because it's like the totality of it is better than the record, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I can't hold it higher than like the music. You know what I'm saying? And so when you're going to the blackface on the cover and like the totality of it, I get what you're
But
saying,
he
but it's like
addressed it in the music too.
how dope is the record? Because no Vaseline, oh that's dope as fuck.
Oh no,
Drop a
it's not
gem on
better
them
than
is
no
better.
Vaseline. No.
You know, drop a gem on them is better.
Well, a lot of
That's what I mean.
people are mentioning some great diss records in the chat too. I saw Corrupt calling out names. I love that, and that was during the time when DMX was running the world. And I had that album, right? That was on Streets as a Mother. It was at the end of the album. He kind of put it at the end, like Ice Cube put No Vaseline at the end of Death Certificate. So yeah, I think that's one of those sleeper disc records too. Like on a technical level, yes, there's a lot of songs and disc records that we can say are even better than Back to Back. Because I think as a song, Calling Out Names is better than Back to Back. But the impact you have to kind of consider too. You know what I mean? Calling Out Names
Yeah,
didn't have the impact that it should have, probably because he was going at two mega stars at the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, and some of this is the power of the machine working in our own minds and training the way that we think, because you're right, Drake had advantages in the machine because of who he is. But here's what I'll tell you, the record had to be there for it to get played like that.
As
The
a
record
record,
still,
though, if we want to be real, though, as a record, in my personal opinion, I like Charged Up better than Back to Back.
nobody agrees with you on that.
I
It's
mean,
not a good record.
Charged Up is fine because Charged Up is eerie. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and it's a setup record. It's kind
That's
of
funny
like
that
when,
you like. It's funny that I like the happy record and you like the dark record.
yeah,
That's
it's
crazy.
like when it comes to disc records, I like more so the last real nigga alive type of records where it's like it's not. I'm not really, even though I think No Vaseline's probably the best disc record of all time. I like disc records that aren't so in your face all the time too. I like it where it's like it kind of builds. But see, Charged Up was not meant to exist alone. It was meant to have a follow up with it. And everybody's saying I'm tripping, but I like Charged Up. Go listen
No,
to
I
it.
told you. I told you were tripping. Nobody agreed with you. I knew that was going to happen. Definitely Ether take over. No Vaseline, the bitch in you. Drop a gem on them.
Well, does
Like
Eminem have a
definitely.
top 10 disc record all time, you think?
Who?
Eminem. We're about to talk about him, and he's one of the guys that people always say nobody wants to battle with. Does he have a top 10 hip hop disc record all time?
Not even remotely.
I like the sauce, but the only thing that's wrong with the sauce is it's against Benzino. And I think that, when you weigh out the level of competition, I think that it's hard to rank it super high when Benzino's the competition. And I say that respectfully because Benzino's not known to be a rapper first. And the other diss record that I like from
I'm. Hold
Eminem,
on. Oh
I like,
God. I'm so. Hold
go
on.
ahead.
Hold on.
I like I
The bridge is
Remember too.
over.
The Bridge is Over, yeah.
Yeah. Bridge is over. Is this? Definitely better than both of these records, than all of these records.
People are saying Nail in the Coffin. I've always heard that, but I like the sauce better than Nail in the Coffin. I always have. Maybe it's the beat. Maybe it's like, again, he's going through storytelling mode where it's like growing up. You never ah. If you could spit, then you could spit. That's it. That's what it was back. He's telling the whole story of the Source magazine and how problematic that the ratings were and how biased the ratings were, and then he just goes into it. I've always thought that the Sauce was just a much better record than Nail in the Coffin. I think Nail in the Coffin's just, going at it or whatever and just saying little diss shit here and there, but the Sauce, the Sauce was a build up, you know what I mean? Because it got to the point at the end where he was just frustrated all the way, and I also like those records where it's just one long verse too. I was
about to say, like the Beanie Siegel "Kiss the Game Goodbye" freestyle. This is better than both of those.
Well, I mean, he's going against Jadakiss, of course. You know what I'm saying?
It's different. That's what I mean. Yeah. So like that degree of difficulty stuff and who the person is and
that
when it happens, when it matters. Well, that's why Eminem doesn't really have one of those. It's because it's like, well, I mean, look at these other disses that we have and who they're up against. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
No, 100%. You got somebody going up against Jay-Z. You got somebody going up against Jadakiss.
Tupac.
50 lost a lot, but 50 went up against some heavyweights. You know what I'm saying? You going up against Styles and Jada? Jeez. Yeah. KD with the super chat says, you don't like M, but Hail Mary was a classic diss. But that's just because it was jumping, not because of M. Well, see, my thing is...
Hold on. Didn't Busta Rhymes have the standout verse on the Hail Mary diss?
First of all, I don't even think that diss registers. I think that Back Down is the one that we remember from the Murder Inc. and 50 Cent thing. And honestly, that record was just a pile on that was unnecessary. It's really interesting now looking back on it, how many people were ready and willing to just pile up on Ja Rule that really didn't have anything to do with anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was between two guys.
It's very problematic.
Jason with the super chat says, Joe Budden torched a lot of rappers. Ransom, G-Unit, Prodigy, respectfully, Saigon, just to name a few. His diss tracks are crazy.
You watch your mouth.
KD with the super... Hey, it is what it is, right? KD with the super chat says...
I don't know how solid that is.
Y'all hear that reason?
He said ran through like there wasn't like no... Okay.
KD says, y'all hear that reason in Game? Game is really getting me excited for Drillmatic next week. Sheesh, he's in his bag. That's another person whose diss record game is heavy. And I don't think personally... He has one either.
Huh? I don't think he has one either.
I don't either, but I would say this. I think that 300 bars of running, I would have to put it over the Sauce just because we're talking about G-Unit versus Benzino.
Well, it's funny because, doing this game's greatest hits list and 300 bars and running is on the list.
Is it? Okay. Cool.
Wouldn't you find it to be one of his finer moments as an MC?
Oh, yeah, especially in that period. I think that it kind of helped get him to where it kind of helped get him to the point where he is now. Pest Control is crazy. Thank you, somebody in the chat. Pest Control is crazy. And once again, that's another diss record people act like didn't happen. And I know you like Back to Back or whatever. Pest Control is way better than Back to Back. I'm sorry.
I'll give you that.
Pest Control is what we're giving Drake points because he's a singer. You know what I mean? It was a good record. It's a dope record. And it was unexpected. But if we putting these two records up against each other, Pest Control is way more vicious than Back to Back. Somebody said Kilo Ali versus Sammy Sam. Shout out to Atlanta in the building. I love that. I was going to go with Kilo versus Raheem the Dream. Cut them up. Jay Short with the super chat says, DJ Quick, dollars and cents. Yeah.
I personally love the MC8 disc, dollars and cents. That's a personal favorite. That would probably be in Coop's personal top 10. Like if I was doing a personal top 10, I think dollars and cents would make it. I don't know. Dollars and Cents is almost like the West Coast drop a gem on them. It's like the great diss record nobody really talks about like they should.
Mm. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
somebody in the chat said that Eminem struggled with MGK. I mean, I think that's putting it nicely. MGK won that one.
Struggling with a lot.
Now, I do like the other Eminem diss record I like was against Everlast. I remember. I thought that was dope. Dante Smith with the super chat says, "What about the games Meek Mill diss on 1992? On 92 bars. Yeah, man, Game gets on somebody and just won't let up. You
Yeah.
know what? I personally like Pest Control more than I like 300 bars and running. I like them both. So
I think it. Um, I
he's a
think
better rapper
Pest
at the
Control.
Pest
Well,
Control part.
yeah, he's a better rapper, and it's a better song. But 300 bars and running is more of a timepiece and maybe more important to his career. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Does
And
that make sense?
he went at Siegel on Pest Control too. But again,
That wasn't a smart. It's
that's
not
not the
smart.
same Siegel. And we could say the same thing
Never smart.
about. I'm gonna be fair. We could say the same thing about MGK and Eminem too. You know, because I don't think that same thing would have happened if he was going at 02 Eminem. So I'm gonna be fair. Actually, I'm gonna be very fair to Eminem on this show, somewhat, because I actually listened to the greatest hits from 1 to 35, and I want to go through it. KD says, "Pest Control had crazy bars. You were supposed to throw up, throw up the rock, not smoke it. Hilarious. Jesus,
It
man.
was
Pest
hilarious.
Control was vicious, man.
Hey, you want to know what?
Pest Control was
We
vicious.
need to. You want to know what? We need to do a.
We need a list.
Yeah, we need a list. We need a top
This
20
wasn't even
greatest.
part of the show, man. I don't even know how this came up, but we need a
We, did-
list.
hold on. Doing this records was nowhere involved in any of the pregame,
It wasn't.
like anywhere this week.
Story
We
of
were
Adidon took us here. You know what I'm saying?
this is what we like to call a freestyle,
For real.
or what is it? What does Rakim call it? A purified freestyle?
Yes, sir. NDU Jam says, "What do you think of Murr's album? Alan is Dead and Odyssey is released in 2019. Personally, I think that it's his best hip hop album in 2019. I need to get back on. I mean, I hadn't really checked out Murr's stuff since like the mid 2000s to early 2000s. I need to get back on Murr's. Ohio
I haven't
K
been
with
on
the
Murs in a long time. I'm
It's
not
been a
even gonna
minute.
lie.
You know, the guy we were talking about in the previous episode, Chan, that we used to work with, he played that Ninth Wonder, Ninth Wonder Murs album for me for the first time too. Ohio K with the super chat says, Cassidy, you there, Coop?
I was about to ask you the same thing. I'm
Okay, yeah,
here.
you went out for a second. Cassidy,
I'm here.
I'm sorry, Ohio K says Cassidy catch a body, Meek Mill diss. Yeah, man, Meek got a lot, man. People was coming at Meek. James Thomas says, Bang
Well,
Bang, Capone and Noriega featuring Foxy Brown. Yeah, Foxy really brought it to Kim on that one.
well, I mean, if that's the case, we can go Quiet Storm remix with Kim. Hot damn ho, here we go again. You know,
That wasn't too direct,
that's
but for people who knew, they knew.
yeah, that was if you know situation.
Yeah, I think that Foxy shot on Bang Bang that was very direct. Very
Yeah,
direct.
Fox is vicious. Oh man, I ain't heard Bang Bang in a minute. We gonna thug this shit. Yeah, we gonna thug. I love Capone and Noriega.
Okay, so I mean, we'll put together a list and everything, but just off the top of your head, before we go on to this Eminem greatest hits, top 5 diss records.
You know what else? Here's another one. Right before I do my top 5, Idols Become Rivals by Rick Ross.
That was cool. That was more of a.
See, you
I would
said
go
you
more
like the
so-
subtle stuff in the build-ups. That's the real shit. That's a real diss.
That's a
shit.
real subtle. But again, we talking Birdman, and I would
He's
go
not-
more so towards the one with 50 Cent against 50 Cent.
How about this? I think Idols Become Rivals is better than Back Down.
No, I think
Yeah.
Rick Ross and 50 has some good ones in there. Tia
But where?
told me
Hold on.
dope is a
What
dope
makes you
record.
think Back Down is better though? Like Ross is speaking to some real shit.
I guess it's all about what you look for. I think from the entertainment value, Back Down did
Oh,
all of
So,
those
okay,
things.
so entertainment value back down, but I would submit this to you. You're a journalist. Like Ross wrote that diss like an investigative reporter. Like, damn, you really broke my heart. I really thought you niggas really owned them cars. And
All
then
right,
you
this
hear
is
the
the
Maybach
thing.
music. It's like he's taking shots everywhere.
Well, this is my thing, man, and with the whole Birdman thing, it's just my personal opinion. If Wayne's not gonna come out there and say anything, it's like,
Wayne sued him and they had to settle out of court, Mike. What more do you
no,
need to
I feel
know?
you. I mean, and then he'll go out there and they be kicking it, taking pictures. I'm talking about from a disc record standpoint.
Man,
If Wayne's
there's
not gonna say anything on record, then it's like, who am I
but hold
to?
on. But there's truth in there's bars and there's truth in there. Listen to what
Yeah,
Birdman's a priest, moans in the synagogue, publishing's a sin, repent, forgive me, Lord.
I'm gonna go back and
Crazy.
listen to it because I
Man,
do remember
man.
"Idols Become Rivals" was a dope record. Melvin Wright with the super chat says, "Do you guys think that the West Coast has no quality music if Dr. Dre isn't affiliated with it? Been wanting to ask this for a minute now." Huh. Well, that's an interesting question because Harry O, one of the founders of Death Row Records, he just said that Dr. Dre and Snoop are working on a new album, or he got Dr. Dre and Snoop to be working on a new album. And I'm glad that Harry O is free, and we'll be waiting to see. I mean, do I believe that Dre and Snoop are going to come out with an album together? I wouldn't hold my breath. But sounds great. But to answer your question, I think there's a lot of great West Coast music that's out there. But I think that when Dre comes out, he puts a battery in people's back that amps the quality of it up. I'll put it that way.
Well, I think I get where he's coming from because anytime you're going to talk West Coast, Dre and Snoop are obviously going to be the focal point of those conversations. I would submit to you, we have a ton of Tupac and Ice Cube conversations. I tell you, I love the Tupac before Death Row, even though the best music that he made consecutively is, All Eyes on Me, 1, 2, Machiavelli.
Right.
But Tupac, we talk about pre-Death Row, pre any sort of, and even Tupac on Death Row, very, very little Dr. Dre involvement. So when we're speaking to Tupac, that's mostly West Coast, right?
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot of Pac talk. We do a lot of Ice Cube talk. We just talked No Vaseline, like just now, about how, and you just said No Vaseline is probably the greatest diss record ever. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Who's he dissing on there? Because that damn sure ain't Dre doing a beat where he getting his ass tore apart on.
Well, I
You
mean,
feel me?
again, Death Certificate and America's Most, Dre's not involved. Now, if you want to say America's Most was made in New York, made by the Bomb Squad, fine. But Death Certificate definitely wasn't. And I
Well,
think it's a better album, too. But, I think even if you look at like Nipsey and you look at TDE's movement, you look at Black Hippies, I think that the West Coast just looks different than what we remembered it looking like in previous eras. And I think the Bay Area, are we talking just LA or are we talking about the Bay Area? Because the Bay Area got their own scene.
Well, no, he's asking about California, and that's what I'm saying. It's just like, well, when he's saying Dre centered, it's like, well, we pull up and we talk Tupac, correct? Well, we talk Ice Cube. I just got done talking Safe and Sound and loving some DJ Quick. Born and Raised in Compton and Safe and Sound are two of my favorite West Coast albums.
Yeah.
I'm a big Game fan. I talk all the time about my time out in Cali when I moved out there when the documentary was coming out. I speak more highly of the Game than anybody else that I see that's actually like doing any sort of like hip hop journalism, rhetoric, or talk or speak in terms of support of him and his catalog. So, we definitely do stuff that's not Dre centered. Schoolboy Q is one of my favorites. I know we haven't talked about Kendrick in the light that some people would like at times, but I'm a big Schoolboy Q fan. You're a big Ab Soul fan. If you want to go to the Bay, it's Mac Dre, 40 Water, Short. I grew up on all that. So.
Yeah, it's a lot. Jay Short with the Super Chat says, can't forget about Kool Moe Dee and his LL diss, let's go. And you also can't forget about Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper.
That's what we can do a top 25 diss list. It's hard. So hold on. So, but top 5 disses for me. I think the Ether and the Takeover are just going to be synonymous with each other forever. So they're going to be in the top 5. Funny, even though No Vaseline is about somebody else, Ice Cube's in here twice because I think The Bitch in You is a top 5 diss record all time because I think
Really?
that's the largest degree of difficulty. It is because
At
nobody
the
is
time,
unknown
yes.
as Common. Nobody is unknown as Common made a diss record has great against somebody that was that great at their peak and
Yeah.
succeeded the way that it did.
It's true.
It's the highest degree of difficulty ever. It's part of the reason why we even became even more familiar with Common in hardcore hip hop circles. We would hear The Bitch in You on mixtapes. It's like, who is this nigga from Chicago dissing Ice Cube? It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it sounded great. It's not like he sounded like a lame. It's like, yo, this nigga is breaking Cube shit up right now.
Yeah.
You know?
And he had a lot of points. Fresh Out Podcast Show. Shout out to y'all. He said, salute to Mike D and Coop. Love the channel. Good looking out, man. We appreciate the love, man. Let me get to these super chats, and we're gonna get to this Eminem greatest hits real quick.
Hold on, number five. I would say drop a gem on them just because like Mobb Deep were the only people that dissed Tupac while he was alive. Like who else like actually was like throwing real shots? And the record's there. That's actually one of Havoc's best beats.
We got to come with our list. We got to come with our list, and we'll see if this list goes viral as well. Yeah. KD with the super chat says, y'all remember Cameron's Bigger Picture? I love that record. He got it, Jay-Z. He got it, Hove. Crazy on that. You got to love it. It was crazy, too. Cam low-key won his beef with Hove, Nas, and 50. Whoa.
No, they just never really took real shots at him.
They never really came back. Now, You know what? Speaking of which, Cam and 50's back and forth might be the most hilarious back and forth of all time. Curtis, show some courtesy, Curtis. Now he might have got 50. That was, I'm gonna go back and look at that video when we get off our show, man. It's on YouTube. It is hilarious. He had people on the streets talking about Curtis. Old man was like, Kirby. Ray Realms with the super chat says, can you brothers give me 5 mandatory features on Doggy Style 2? Harry O is a strategist. Well, I mean, 5 mandatory. Unfortunately, we don't have Nate Dogg here. I would say Lady of Rage. I would say Corrupt. I would say Daz. Doggy Style 2. Daz, Corrupt, Lady of Rage, Devin the Dude, and Wiz. And that's off the top of my head. What do you say, Coop?
I say The Game.
Okay.
The DLC.
Okay.
And Corrupt, Daz, and the Lady of Rage.
I'm with that. Jay Short with the super chat says, the Bay only listens to the Bay. They do. And I respect it. They support their own. James Thompson.
They do. It's hard.
Yeah. The James Thomas Jr. says, remember Record Haters by E40 dissing AZ? I do vaguely remember that. I'm going to have to go back to that.
But don't.
Mad Max in the super chat says, Tana Talk 4 is way better than Almost Dry. Don't even got Super Plug. How is this even a question?
Told you, Super Plug. Back 2 times, Johnny P's Caddy. It's a really, really strong album.
It is, man. We're not giving Tana Talk 4 and Benny the credit he deserves in 2022.
No, I told you it was an album of the year contender when it came out.
Yeah. You did say that.
It's holding pretty well. I mean, we're in August now, and I still can have it like... I mean, the only albums that I know definitely that I think are better are Ransom and Che's album. And I need to go check Ransom's album again before I say that definitely. So right now, Che's looking great.
Mm-hmm. It was funny. He was dissing Rasheed Wallace in that record, too. That E40 record y'all talking about.